Hello, everyone. Hi, Utkarsh, you are there? Can someone say if you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. We'll just give a couple of minutes for people to join in. Thanks, Ravi. That, yeah, I was just checking. Karthik, Utkarsh, let me know when we can start.
We can just start in next 1 minute, and we can just have a basic introduction part, and we can just start.
So 1 or 2 minutes more, and then we get started. Yeah. I can see people joining in.
Hi Deepak, we can just start the presentation.
Sure. Okay. Thanks for confirming. Just confirm if you can see my screen.
Yes, everything is visible and your voice is also clearly audible.
Perfect. Thanks a lot. Okay. Hi everyone. Thanks for joining in. Good morning. Thanks for your time early in the morning. This would be a very interesting and interactive session, right? So hope you have gone through the details what we have posted, and the gist for today, right? So how to crack the dream business analyst job. Okay, so let's get ahead. Very brief introduction from my side. I have close to 19 years of corporate experience within business technology space. Worked quite hands-on. Started my career early as a business analyst. Moved into different roles within products and project management. Worked extensively across the globe: UK, Europe, APAC, and India. I have a lot of experience in terms of the leadership, driving the business analysis, the change management projects, consulting, the product management space, and more importantly, mentoring, training, and sort of career profiling right from the start of your academic career, like freshers to mid and senior management. A lot of the sessions which were previously being held across different areas have been quite successful. So I'm sure that we'll make it an interactive one. We'll have sufficient time in terms of the questions and answers. I'll take you through the journey, and this is a very exciting area, right? So let's talk about this. I would definitely want this to be interactive so that you can have all your questions answered, and I'll let you know how I can actually help you by hand holding throughout the journey, right? So that's the agenda for today. But I'll keep my introduction brief because this is not about me. This is more about you getting the entire landscape of business analyst and how can you shape up your journey. Okay, so if that sounds as a plan, can you, or if you are excited to learn, can you just type in your chat window exciting? Yeah, hope you can access your chat. Good. Thanks, Disha. Ravi, you have been very active. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Thanks, Akshay. Wow. So this is great response. Let's go ahead. Let's talk about you, right? So I believe this is a good group where we have a lot of people who are probably looking at shaping up your journey. So can we just have raise of our hands? Who in this audience are students or freshers? Can you just raise your hand? Probably we'll get a tab on that. Thanks, Disha, Ravi. Okay, and the rest of the folks. Okay, so I assume that you are working professionals, right? So all of you are currently working. Okay, let's move on to the next question. What's your target company? Do you have anything in mind? Product based or service based? You are actually trying to shape up in your organization. So if you are trying to shape up within your organizations or moving into a sidewise track, can you just say own, which means own organization, right? You're trying to get ahead in your organization through a horizontal movement. Can you just type own? I'm just trying to assess, your sort of aim or objective for this session. No, okay. So then, rest all of you are actually looking into getting into a job either on product-based companies or service-based organization, right? So that's an assumption that I'm going ahead with. Okay. Last question before we move into our scheme of the day. What's your phase landing? When I say phase landing, what are you trying to achieve? Is it, are you in an interview stage, or you are trying to upskill? You're trying to look for some mentoring, some hand holding. What's your objective? What's your future path? Can you just type in to chat? Akshay says interview. Lisa says looking for a job. Ravi is saying upskilling and mentoring. Okay. Others. Chetan. Karan says interview. Chetan says upskilling and job search. Yeah. Okay. A few others joining, but yeah. So predominantly what we could get the sense of it is most of you are actually trying across different space, right? So interviewing, upskilling, and mentoring. So if you think in all those aspects, the business analyst is particularly a journey, right? A lot of times we have participants who are very confused about how to shape it up, right? So what are we going to cover in this particular session? So we'll talk about growing demand. What's the genesis of getting into a business analyst career, right? Why would you want to get into this career? What sort of competency that you should focus on, the skills and expertise? How can you prepare for an interview, and what's the journey ahead, right? So we will focus our entire context on these four areas. All right. Why there has been an explosion in terms of growing demand for BA? First and foremost, right, I think most of you have articulated well, this provides a very defined career path. When I say a career path, there is a lot of growth story being attached, right? So the demand for business analyst has really gone up because of two reasons. One is competitive salary, because you work for global firms, i.e., US, UK, or APAC firms based out of India. They need support. They need people who can actually help them on two different aspects. One, to improve their revenue. Two, reduce the cost of operations, right? So these are primarily the two drivers where there is a growing demand for PA. And when there is a demand, obviously you have a lot of career growth opportunities. So you move from business analyst, senior business analyst, then most of the candidates actually go into product owner or a product manager track, and also they sometime become a SME in a particular field. So we'll deep dive on that as well. So McKinsey recently said that by 2024, the global firms are looking to ramp up by almost 30 to 40%, right? So that all the more reason that there is a hyper growth in terms of demand of skilled BA. When I say skilled BA, somebody who knows the tricks of the trade. Third important point, all of you would be knowing by now that there is a lot of business organizations moving into data decision making. What I mean by that is there is a lot of information overloading. So recently there was a survey which by Net Advantage where they say that 97.2% of the respondents have indicated that they will be investing more in terms of resources who understand the data, the process, the technology well. And BA job is exactly an overlapping of what we talked about. Last but not the least, there is huge demand on digital transformation. And you must be observing that, right? A lot of focus on analytics, a lot of focus on digital, the customer journey. Recently, IDC said that by 2025, the data, the amount of data is going to be 180 ZB, right? That clearly talks about a clear demand of professionals who can actually help organization in automating their processes. And no wonder why the business analyst demand is actually growing. Okay, so very defined business path and a business journey for business analysts. This is very important for you to understand, right? So the demand is going to stay there for next 5 to 10 years. Now the next question is, are we skilled enough? Right? So we discussed that we will focus more on competency and skills at this point of time. So business analyst is a job. A lot of times, candidates get confused, but you are actually looking at being a transition or being a pipe, if I can, use that term, between business and technology, right? So if you are in between, or you are acting as a conduit between business and technology, you have to be good at both from a business perspective as well as from a technology perspective. So if you could see on the left hand side of the screen, you have to analyze what, where, why, when, and how, more from a business perspective, right? So just to give an example, if you are working on a domain like banking, you have to understand what is the growth driver, right? Why is the business driving it? Is it due to digital transformation? Is it due to more customer acquisition? How do you want to do it? How can you solve their problem? So that brings us to two important areas from a competency and skill. Are you the person who understand and can articulate the need from business? Okay, which you see on the circle. And are you the person who can recommend the solution? Gone are those days where actually the companies were recruiting candidates or BA who can actually document. Lot of candidates come back and say, is it a documentation process? It is not at all a documentation process. It is an entire journey which starts from identifying the need of the business to recommend the solution. Business looks for advisors. So if you are an advisor who can understand business pain point and provide solution, you are there. So what you are trying to achieve on the right hand side, you can see you are trying to achieve the change, and you are aiming for a continuous improvement or a sustainable change, right? So this slide is very important in terms of what the hiring manager looks in you, right? So I'll repeat. Are you the person who can define the need? Are you the person who can recommend a solution to the business? Okay. In terms of skills and category, what is that the hiring manager is looking for, and how we can crack their mind share, or how we can have equal mind share at least. First and foremost, they're looking for BAs or candidates who have very good analytical skills. I would like to focus on three or four very important parameters, right? They are looking for candidates who can solve their business problems, who can actually get ahead with a critical thinking. All right. There are concepts like design thinking, which is definitely being much sought out for. So analytical skill is one area where they need to focus a lot in terms of evaluation. And needless to say, that is an area that you also need to bring about in yourself. We'll discuss how we can actually work together to bring that on. Technical skills, there are different proficiency which is required in terms of different softwares or tools which will be needed for a business analyst to draw out different process flows, to gather requirement, to work in a particular project. Third important area which is in focus from a hiring need is the domain knowledge. I cannot overemphasize the need of domain knowledge, right? Let's say you are working on a logistic environment. Take an example of any big four which are there, right? So there is a clear ask for a business analyst to step up in terms of understanding the industry trends. What are the different business processes, right? If somebody asks you, do you know the entire inventory value chain of, let's say, Flipkart or Amazon? And if you want to step into the e-commerce industry, that is definitely an ask. Okay. So analytical skills, the technical skills, the tools that you would like to have, the domain knowledge of the particular industry. Last but not the least, looking for specific methods and frameworks. This is non-exhaustive list. We will discuss more in that. However, all the elicitation techniques, the use cases, these are a lot of methods and frameworks which the BA has to be very competent in. I think a lot of you have outlined that there would be a greater need to prepare for interview, and then you need upskill. This is an area to focus. business process analysis, you would see agile has become a buzzword. So do you know all the tips and tricks of how you can actually survive and excel on the agile methodology as a BA? Are you the person who understands about how to draft out a user story? How can you prioritize the product backlog with the business users? So these are very specific and niche ask from the hiring manager before they even think of hiring you from your CV, and after that when you join the job, right? So this is very important competency and skill. So I'll probably stop by here and ask you if you have any questions. I mean, you can use your chat to let me know if you have any questions here. Okay, just agile methodology. Okay, I can see sometimes people know it. So Disha, your question is agile methodology, right? So agile methodology. So there are two different ways that you can look into or progress your career. One is the waterfall method. You know, the software development lifecycle has two different phases. One is waterfall. The other one is agile methodology. And agile methodology comes into a construct called Scrum. Right? So there is a defined framework where we can actually talk about the agile framework. Agile, as you can fall back on your English language, agile means agility or nimbleness. So most of the organizations have thought, rather than going in a sequential method, let me actually go through an agile framework where I can achieve the go-to-market strategy easily. So there is a definitive framework. There are definite tools which needs to be used by the BA to get into agile projects. And that's a very pertinent question because 70 to 80% of the organizations have moved into agile projects. Okay. I had one more question. Let me just quickly check that. I think that was from Ravi. How can we get into BS fresher? Okay, very important question. Okay, I mean, this is not only Ravi's question, this might be from others as well. So, Ravi, your question is how can you move faster? I'll be very honest. Yeah, there is no uh, sort of shortcut to success, if I can include that, right? So, as a fresher, you need to be into that entire journey. And that is why this slide, as I said, this slide is very important. You need to have proper guidance, proper orientation and upskill. If you are a fresher and don't have knowledge in all the four areas that we talked about, then you need to be trained and mentored on those four specific areas so that you can come up the curve. And obviously, you know, once we discuss more or co-work, I would be able to recommend you how many months that would be required. But I'll be very honest, there is no shortcut answer that okay, I'll read something and then it's a 5 days journey. It's a month's journey. It's not a day's journey. And same thing is applicable to experienced professionals who are across different streams, i.e. development or testing. If they want to embark on a BA journey, they need to go through that entire end-to-end journey, right? There is no clear shortcut here. Okay. So if there are no further questions, I don't see any. Thanks, Ravi. So I'll probably go back and then discuss little more in terms of competency and skills, right? So this is a standard global method which is actually being used, which is called competency and skills. Okay? As a BA, this is called Business Analyst Core Concept Model, and this is being given by International Institute of Business Analysis. So the area that you need to focus on is try and understand change. What sort of change is happening and why it is happening. Okay. Are you the person who can recommend the solution? When I say solution, you might not give the exact solution, but at least the option for business to talk about, right? And there comes your technology expertise as well. Can this be achieved through RPA? Can this be achieved through AI? You need to think through that. You also have to be aware of the context. What is the context of the business? Why they are actually doing it? What circumstance is actually influencing the business to take that decision? Let's take an example of a retail firm which is now brick and mortar. why they are actually trying to go digital. Is it because more customer footfall? So those are the contexts that you need to be aware of. And as a BA, you need to bring value to the stakeholders. I think this had a question for Agile. So exactly in the similar way, what is your product feature and how it is adding value to your stakeholders? Other important note that you have to understand who are your stakeholders. Very, very important, right? So also there are different tools and tricks and methods to understand who are your stakeholders. And there is a particular framework on the BA tool as well. And it brings back to what is a need? Is it a problem or it's an opportunity for a BA? So this framework will actually help you to sort of understand the entire landscape in terms of where you stand at this point of time. What is your gap, right? So you need to do a gap analysis also. Okay. Is there any question on this particular slide where we discussed about your competency and skill, what areas you need to focus? Okay, clear. That means I'll move to the next one. Okay. So in terms of preparation, right? So somebody mentioned about interview preparation, and see, the ultimate goal is to have a defined career path for a business analyst. Now that you have decided, and you, the very fact that you are here, that means you need to look into these process steps very, very quickly. First step, look at few of the JDs which interests you, right? It may be from a consulting company, it may be from an industry, it may be from a startup. Look at few of the job description of business analyst, and then try and evaluate your skill gap. First step, right? So once we decide that you would have the trial session, and then we go ahead on this journey, these are the steps that we will go through, and I can help you shape up your career here, right? As I have been saying, that I have handheld a lot of candidates, both from freshers to mid managers. So this is where I can be of great help to you, to let you know if a JD interests you, what is the skill gap that you have. The second step would be to understand and do a CV scanning or a resume scanning. Try and understand the background, how you can fit into that particular role through your experience. If you're a fresher, through your internship, how you can actually articulate it well. Because remember, you are not there close to the hiring manager, right? So they get probably around 6 to 8 seconds to scan through your CV. So your CV needs to stand out. So we'll have to do a lot of work in terms of reviewing the CV, and getting the right keywords fitting in. So those areas that I can be of help. Third area, which we have been talking about in the last 30 minutes or so, is there is a defined journey to understand the concepts, to understand various products and tools, which will be a greater ask from the hiring managers, and the techniques or the frameworks, right? We discussed about BACCM as one of the techniques and frameworks, but there are several more, right? This I was asking a question about agile. So there are product backlogs, there are user stories, you have to write down acceptance criteria, there is requirement document, right? So there are plenty of those techniques and areas that we need to focus on. Also, there are technical and core BA interview simulation that we have to do, right? So this is, as you can see, this is the end, almost the end path of the journey, where we have to go through a lot of simulation, right? So one very defined area that I am a firm believer is, until and unless you practice, it is very difficult, right? So only three golden words: practice, practice, and practice. That will make you perfect, as they say. So there has to be a lot of simulation in terms of a particular job role that you are applying, so that you understand and you come back and you shape up well. And the final process is the D-Day preparation, right? So when I say D-Day preparation, it is the targeted company that you have and what specific niche area that you need to focus on, right? So this is a very important slide of your entire journey. I think, Ravi, you had a question of, if you are a fresher, what you should do. I believe similar question would be there. However, what I would do is I'll again stop here to have any questions. If you have any doubt about this entire end-to-end journey, which can take you to your successful BA career and how can you crack the interview. Is there any questions that I can take here? Okay, let me just quickly check. Yeah, so Ravi, what are the tools required? Yeah, so the tool required would be plenty. So I'll just name few. Probably the Visio is one of the tool that is getting extensively used. There are also tools like Jira. There are tools like Confluence. So there are a lot of technical tools as well as products that a BA needs to be aware of. And a lot of times where I have observed that the participants or the candidates go random and do a lot of online tutorials or something which is available, but they do not get the business context, right? So you can still get hands-on different tools, but how that is useful to the business, what would be the hiring managers questions, those are some important areas that we need to work on. Okay, all right. Is there any other questions? Okay, no further questions. Okay. Okay, so we have been discussing about interviews. Um, Again, this is not exhaustive, but I thought that these are some questions which normally the hiring managers look into. So it's a PIP, or I'm trying to read a hiring manager's question set. I have been into that shoes a lot of times since last probably 20 years or so. I have been looking at those specific areas. So let's look at few of these, right? So these are the questions, and that is why you need a thorough preparation. So the questions can be getting into little deeper into your project, saying, how have you bridged the gap between technical teams and non-technical stakeholders? Okay. What are the different methods that you use to communicate the technical concepts? There are also specific questions where the hiring manager gets into more details, asking question regarding how did you manage a changing requirement? What are the tools and techniques that you used? And these are all scenario-based questions, right? If you look at question number 3, it says, discuss a time where you faced resistance from the stakeholders. Now, here the expectation from a hiring manager is that how can you actually blend your business and technical skills and all the tools and techniques and frameworks that you would be knowing to actually give them a practical application, right? How did you overcome the resistance and how could you get a buy-in from the stakeholders? And there are defined tools and frameworks, as I have been discussing about, which you have to learn so that you can actually blend it with your response. Okay. Provide an example of a challenging requirement gathering session. So they would ask you, how did you get into the entire workshop? What was the step, right? So there are defined 4 phases that we will be discussing in terms of how you can actually get into conducting an effective workshop. So these are few of the key questions. Again, as I said, this is just a snippet of what the hiring manager can get in. No longer they would ask you just a random question about, do you know what is a business requirement document? Right? So they will get into a little more. So hence the reason that we need a defined journey throughout this entire collaboration work. Okay. Is there any question on this slide? Okay. I think that is no. Okay, this is a slide which I would like to probably focus on and then talk about what is the journey, where is it landing up, right? Right now, all of us, when we started this discussion, you said that most of you have the dream of getting into a preferred job list, right? So you are basically looking for a job now. Okay. So what's the step one? The step one, I think you have been getting in the chat, is go for a trial session. And within that trial session, we will try and discover what is your actual need. Just like stakeholders, a lot of times I meet candidates who do not know what is their actual problem. and what support they need. And hence the reason that you should definitely get into a trial session. It normally spans around 15 to 30 minutes. It's a free trial session where both of us would explore how we can actually co-work on the things which you would like to be shaped up, right? From that, I would be able to definitively let you know what sort of time frames that you would have to get into in terms of a mentorship, right? And we have, this is a tried and tested method where we know that long-term mentorship has helped not only to crack an interview, but more important to sustain the job after, or a career, and to excel in the career, right? So it is very important. And most of you said, you also are looking for upskilling, and that is the phase two or step two, where it is the first part of the long term mentorship, where we would do a lot of tools and techniques, upskilling in terms of providing you the hands-on projects. Sometimes you can understand the template, you can understand the framework, but until and unless you get your hands dirty in terms of getting into a project, delivering it, presenting it to me, it will be very difficult, right? Otherwise I'll not be able to give you feedback. Within that upskill and evaluate phase, what we would also do is we will look into the job description that you are most interested in, and we will do a skill gap analysis. Remember the process one that I talked about, right? So that starts here. I would again focus on the areas of improvement in terms of doing hands-on activities, right? So there will be case studies, there will be exercises, there will be a lot of project which you have to simulate and you have to submit. Also, if you see on the middle part, it is a constant interaction. You can reach out to me, we can set up ad hoc calls if you need any support, and you can also check in for a follow-up saying that, Deepak, I'm actually stuck here, what should I do, and how can I actually move in? This particular company is requesting for, let's say, use case document, how do I do it? What are the frameworks for stakeholders? Last time I was stuck in a particular project, how do I handle this, right? So there will be a constant interaction, because we believe until and unless you have those regular check-ins, it is not very useful. After we do this, again, I talked about a simulation of all those interviews that is being lined up. Whether it is lined up or not, still we need to do the simulation quite regularly, right? So you can see there is a very defined, tried and tested methodology which most of the mentees have gone through. Last but not the least, there will be placement assistance, right? So sometimes you would say that I could see that this particular, within your network, there are a few job opportunities, or I'm actually getting on some traction on this particular company. So we have a very strong mentor network also within Preplaced, and connection within the industry. So there would be definitely a lot of placement assistance coming in your way, in terms of referral, in terms of how, where you can pitch in. Sometimes the candidates also say, I have got this particular offer, so how do I do that? How would I move forward, right? So the placement assistance would also mean little deep dive in terms of salary negotiation. How do you actually pitch in for the best? Knowing that industry well, I think I can support you on that front. And finally, you are job ready, and then again, maybe if you look for another job or something better in few months, again we can start the process depending on which phase you land on, right? I really wanted to cover this in detail so that you know what is the path ahead. Is there any specific question here? Okay, Shweta, what should be the approach to understand and solving the data? Sorry, this go in. And business requirement, do statistics important? Shweta, I'm not getting your question correctly, maybe, but what I thought you were asking is approach to understand the data and business requirement. Yeah. So there are so in terms of the requirements, approach on the business requirement, as I have been saying, there are defined approach, right? So from a software development lifecycle, either you get into a waterfall method, which follows a step like a vision document, business requirement document, functional specification, and so on and so forth. In terms of agile, it is product backlog. Focusing on the second part of your question, you mentioned about the data. So that involves a lot of data modeling, understanding the data attributes, and there is one more important tool, which is DFD, data flow diagram, right? So we'll get into that. for any specific question if you may have in later on.
Deepak,
Yes.
you can also check the Q&A section. Like some candidates have messaged you there.
Yeah. So let me just quickly check. Sorry that again went off. Can you just maybe repeat that question?
So you can go in activity. In activity, you can go to QA.
Okay. All right. All right. Yeah, I think Tanmay, you have a question. How to improve storytelling skill? Yeah, so storytelling is very important. Storytelling also comes with a very important tool called business case, right? So we have to practice the business case and then do a storytelling. So one of the see, there are a lot of trainings which needs to be done in terms of storytelling. It doesn't come out easily, and there are few who can really articulate well, but there is a defined process which talks about the business cases, the pros and cons of doing it, and doing a CBA, cost benefit analysis. Because until and unless you have both qualitative and quantitative storytelling, the stakeholders would not believe. Tanmay, you had one more question saying what would be the top three project. Not sure if I understand what do you mean by top three project, but maybe you are asking what is the project that you can work on. That would depend on what industry you are lining up, Tanmay. For example, if you are, let's say, into logistic, then the project will be very different. If you are into banking financial services, the project will be different. And you are in safe hands, because I started my journey post MBA into multiple industry before I got settled down into banking, financials, consulting, and IT. So we can cover multiple projects if you sign up for a long term mentorship. Is DSA required for fresher? What is DSA? Sorry, can you just, Tanmay, can you just type again maybe? I see a lot of questions from your side. Tanmay, DSA. What is DSA? Sorry. Data structure and algo. Not very much required, Tanmay. It depends on what industry you are actually following. These days, algo trading, if you look at specifically on banking or any other industry, algo trading and all that are very special or niche skill. But if you are looking at specific into data science, uh, then obviously it is required. However, from a business analyst perspective, as I have been saying, technology is an enabler. It is a 60-40 combination. 60% you have to understand the domain. Even if you understand the details of algo, if you are not the person who can actually talk about how it is helpful for business to solve their problems, it is of no use. These days you see plethora of courses being floated, right? So you have mentioned Power BI on your chat, data visualization for which you need Tableau. Remember, tools are enablers, right? You can use multiple tools from an AI or a business analytics perspective. However, what is important is, can you map that with business need? Okay, so is this skill good enough for data and business analytics job for freshers? I think we are mixing up here. Business analyst career path is very different to business analytics. Business analytics would be more important, as you correctly said. It is about machine learning, data analytics, and all that. Business analysis would be slightly more in terms of understanding the BA skills, right? It is, I'm not saying that it is not, data science is not very important, but then business analyst is one step above, where you have a combination of both. Okay, so we can discuss that little later. Is SQL important to learn for BA? Yes, Akshay, there are few organizations which always request that if you have knowledge of SQL, knowledge of database, that really helps. Because a lot of times the business analyst has to work on large set of data, right? So it is very, very important. Is it mandatory? Depends on how you actually take it. It is not mandatory. However, basics of SQL is definitely required. I would not say advanced, like, you go and go ahead with that. Shweta, you have a question. Do we need to learn statistic in DA or a BA? Statistics is more important for a DA, not for a BA. Okay, so I think Sarthak and others have been posting it, but the next step would be really to visit the pre-placed app, and then you can search on my name, and we can go ahead with a free trial session. Okay, so that's not a problem at all. Now what I would do is we'll entertain few more questions as well. We have some time, but I just want to launch poll. Okay. um Sarthak, anyone from the team, can you just confirm if you can see my poll on the screen?
Yes, we can see the poll.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, Tanmay will take up the question. Let's see. So the votes are coming up. Can everyone vote? Yeah, Akshay, thanks. Okay, so we need all skills. You see 4 5 votes. I can see there are a few people still joining in, but that's fine. I mean, okay, so there are can others vote, please? It again, it's not a check of your knowledge. I'm just trying to evaluate if we are on the same page. So the question is, what is the essential skill to learn for a BA? Options are technical skill, domain knowledge, business analyst tools and methods, and all other. Okay, so yeah, so good sample space. We all agree that it has to be all of the above. So sort launch one more poll. So we discussed about business analysis core concept model. Okay, so which one is not the key component? Difficult? Change. Interesting. Change. Process. Wow, good. Value. Okay, wait for probably 30 seconds. Okay, the correct answer is process. Yeah, so you have to understand the business change, you have to understand the solution, you have to understand the value that you bring into the stakeholders. Process is definitively important, but the process actually is not considered within the framework. That is a sub task for a BA to carry on, and that is why most of you were asking question, what are the tools that we need to do it? So I did explain, saying that Visio is one of the tool that is being used to draft out the process, but that is not within the core concept model. However, that is extremely important to articulate the business need. Okay, so end the poll. There have been few questions, so probably we'll spend 5 to 6 more minutes to do that. And I'm very conscious of your time as well. It's weekend, you need to relax. Tanmay, your question: if I were to approach you for a job referral, what specific skills and qualities would you be looking for in me? Good question, Tanmay. So obviously, I'm not sure what skill that you have. You need to at least book a session, trial session with me, a free trial session where we can evaluate. I mean, it's very difficult, right, within the session to let you know whether you have the specific skills and qualities. But I think we have already discussed those, right? So it starts with analytical skills, the problem-solving skills. We also discussed about few technical areas that is being required, and also the domain knowledge, depending on which business that you would like to be aligned. Again, business analyst roles are domain agnostic. Even if you are, let's say, in retail, you can still move to healthcare, or there are a lot of candidates who prefer to extend their expertise or SME, subject matter expertise knowledge, within the same field. There are pros and cons of both. We can discuss that in the session that you do it, because individually it will differ, right? So I do not know, for example, what area that Akshay is in as compared to Tanmay. So I would definitely entertain that you book a session. We'll go through that journey together, and then we'll see what is the need. And that's a discovery phase anyway, right? So you can always understand what is the need, how many months, or what's the long term journey that you have in hand to prepare. Okay, good to have those questions, because until and unless you have those questions, either everything you understand or you do not understand anything, right? So good to have those questions. I'm really excited for that. Okay, so is there any more question? Akshay, your question: how can we target product-based companies? I think we are getting in a lot of specific. We can discuss that in detail. You have mentioned Atlassian. So, Akshay, you might have other product-based companies also. There is a definitive method to approach it, depending on how you prepare in the long-term mentorship journey, right? So, please, if you have further doubts, please book in a session, and we can take it forward, because maybe others are not interested for a specific product based companies, right? Okay, probably couple of more minutes. um, if there is no further questions, Tanmay, you are asking for interview process as a BA. There are definitive structure which we can discuss. Again, you might be interested more in the banking career path, and I believe that others might not be entertaining the question, but yes, we can always discuss that. And also I need to identify what areas interest you, because you are asking me a lot of questions within analytics and data science. Yeah, so we need to evaluate that as well. Okay, maybe a minute or so and we will call it a day, but really appreciate your time for attending this session, and you have been really patient. Questions were flooded, so that's good. Okay, last minute. We'll just do a reverse counting now. If you have any questions, otherwise I'll just wind up. Okay, all righty. 30 seconds for any final questions, final call out. No. Okay. All right. Thank you everyone for attending this session. Really appreciate you taking out time on the weekend to have some time with me and the team. Thank you very much. Thanks, team, for standing by.
Thank you, Deepak. And it was a great session. And thank you to each and everyone who just presented. And I hope they will book a trial session with you for the further queries. And let's meet them in the trial session.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks everyone. Take care.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.